ॐ वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचानूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णो वन्दे जगद्गुरुं श्रीकृष्णो वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः. Pranams from Dr. R.J. Kalpana. Welcome to the study of the Bhagavad Gita. In this session, we will briefly look at chapter 12, Bhakti Yoga, as a form of spiritual discipline and focus on the marks of devotees who are on this path of yoga. In ancient times, it is said that whenever there is a study of the Bhagavad Gita, it always would start with chapter 12. The ancients thought that even if the people dropped off later, at least they will be exposed to Bhakti Yoga. It is like, we have in 1913, the British built Gateway of India in Mumbai for their ships to dock. But in 1921, they built India Gate in Delhi, which literally makes no sense because Delhi is not a seaside port, it's landlocked. So learning the Gita from chapter 1 is to learn the Gita from the seaports, and learning the Gita from chapter 12 is to enter Gita directly to its very core, the heart of Gita. Now, I personally would recommend everyone to begin with chapter 1 and commence your study from 1 to chapter 12. A couple of things takes place during this journey. One, we get prepared to receive the right knowledge at the right time to enable us to make the right decision. Knowledge given too soon and understood too hastily might not serve us in the manner in which it ought to serve. So prepare the field of yourself, of your mind, of your heart. Set the right context. Look at the Gita, study the Gita in a sequential manner so you appreciate and value what you're about to receive. Prepare to receive the sacred knowledge. For it is said that only a few chosen ones are blessed to study the Gita. How many of us have copies of the Gita lying around in our house? And how many of us have read it? We might have glanced through it, a page here, a page there, a couple of flicks. But have we studied the Gita? So this is the reason why I recommend study the Gita from chapter 1. Make yourself deserving to receive the divine grace. You have come till chapter 12. How truly amazing is that? Some might have dropped off, but some would have stayed on and listened to this recording and made your own study of the Gita. That is dedication, and that is perseverance. And how blessed are we that the masters in the spiritual hierarchy have graced us with this opportunity. So today's chapter is Bhakti Yoga. What is bhakti? It is popularly defined in the English language as love and devotion. When we love someone younger than us or equal to us, or when we even love an object or a thing, it's called attachment. When there is love between friends or siblings, it's called affection. But when we love something higher than us, greater than us, it's called bhakti. And that is the reason why we call it Guru Bhakti, Desha Bhakti. The etymology of the word bhakti is derived from the root word bhaj, meaning service. Shraddha is derived from two words sat and adhar, meaning act with sincerity and faith. Now, of all the bhaktis that we see, that we are familiar with, there is one which is far superior, which is Deva Bhakti, Parama Bhakti, or divine love, because it cannot be kindled by any external means. A teacher puts in efforts to remove our ignorance and to give us knowledge. A guru puts in efforts to guide us on the right path of spiritual evolution. A country puts in efforts to provide us with social identity and security. A mother and father shower us with love and care for us, giving us familial identity. But Deva Bhakti, divine Bhakti, one has to connect within oneself for this. Bhakti gets manifested only through previous samskaras and satsang with advanced souls, because bhakti is a transcendental process. Jnana is an acquired process, whereas bhakti is causeless and gets manifested on its own. It's the outpouring of the heart in its transcendental state. How many of us sat in satsang with our masters and felt tears coursing down our cheeks for no reason at all? We don't even know why we are crying, and yet we were. Once the seeker realizes his connection with the divine is one constant and eternal, unlike all the worldly connections which are subject to change. Once he realizes the relationship between the Creator and the creation, then he begins to understand the real meaning of bhakti. The progress of bhakti towards the divine depends on identification with the beloved. Greater the identification, greater, stronger the bhakti. There is the story about how Radha would constantly think of Krishna, and she would always be chanting Krishna, 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 Krishna. And then one day the identicality was so complete, was so transformative, that unbeknownst to her, she started chanting Radha, Radha, Radha. As a devotive advances in bhakti, he sees God in everything and everyone. And then there is no hatred in his heart for everyone. There is only love. And so we come to chapter 12 on Bhakti Yoga. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Shrimad Bhagavad Gita. Atha Dvadashodhyayah. Bhakti Yoga, or the Yoga of Devotion. Shloka 1. Arjuna asked Krishna, the devotees who, with their minds constantly fixed on you as shown above, adore you as possessed of form and attributes, and those who adore as the supreme reality only the indestructible unmanifest Brahma. Of these two types of worshippers, who are the best knowers of yoga? So Krishna is being asked this question by Arjuna, that the devotees who worship his form with its attributes and those who worship him without the form, the unmanifested, formless, who are the best of the two? Shloka 2. Sri Bhagavan said, I consider them to be the best yogis, who, endowed with supreme faith and ever united through meditation with me, worship me with the mind centered on me. And so Krishna cuts through all the clutter and gets to the heart of the matter by saying, have faith and sit in meditation on me, worship me, keep your mind centered on me. Those are the best of yogis. Now, these two shlokas, I would like to draw your attention to the Sanskrit words. Arjuna asks Satata Yukta, meaning one who is constantly engaged in their attention on you. And the Bhagwan answers Nitya Yukta Upasate, daily, Nitya Pataniya, Nitya Homam, Nitya Puja, Nitya Yukta Upasate, to meditate daily on the divine. Once Narada, the celestial sage, went to Mahavishnu in Sri Vaikuntham and asked him who was his favorite devotee. Vishnu smiled and said, there is a farmer in Bhuloka, planet Earth, and he is my best of devotees. Narada got annoyed and walked off in a huff. He went to Bhuloka to observe the farmer and found that the farmer prayed to Vishnu in the morning. He would get into a fight with his wife and then call upon the Lord. He would till his lands and his fields and pray to Vishnu for rains to be on time. Then he goes to bed and prays to Vishnu. He came back, Narada, and indignantly said to Vishnu, but the farmer only thinks of you occasionally, while I chant your name constantly. So Vishnu smiles and hands Narada a bowl of oil and instructs him to walk around the earth once with this bowl of oil without spilling a drop of it. When Narada finishes the task and returns back to Vishnu, Vishnu asks him, so how many times did you chant my name? Not even once, said Narada indignantly. I had no time. I was focused, not spilling a drop of oil. Vishnu smiled and said, and that is the reason why I said the farmer is a superior devotee. Even in his difficulties, he doesn't forget me. The few occasional times he thinks of me, he thinks solely of me. His full awareness is there on me. It is difficult to find a person solely devoted to the divine, and therefore fix the goal, which should be complete oneness with God, and rest not till the goal is achieved. Shloka 3 and 4. Those, however, who fully controlling all their senses and even minded towards all and devoted to the welfare of all beings, constantly adore as their very self the unthinkable, omnipresent, indestructible, indefinable, eternal, immovable, unmanifest and changeless Brahma, they too come to me. And so here Krishna says that even the formless, the unmanifest, can be meditated upon. And even that form of worship is welcomed and acknowledged, and they too will reach their goal, which is the divine. Now here Krishna uses a lot of words, a lot of adjectives. So basically there are 8 gunas to understand the Nirakara. Achintya, one that cannot be pondered upon. Akshara, that which does not change. Avyakta, that which cannot be expressed. Sarvatra, omnipresent. Anirdeshaya, that which cannot be pointed out. Kutastha, that which does not change. Achala, that which is steady. Dhruva, that which is definite and constant. Paryupasate, meaning to meditate upon. Shloka 5. Of course, the strain is greater for those who have their mind attached to the unmanifest. For oneness with the unmanifest is attained with difficulty by those who are centered in the body. And so here Krishna says that that path that you have chosen to meditate upon the unmanifest without a form is slightly more difficult and more challenging if one is trapped by the needs of the body. Shloka 6. On the other hand, those who, depending exclusively on me and surrendering all actions to me, worship me, constantly meditating on me with single-minded devotion. Now, here Krishna speaks about focusing attention upon a god with a form and with certain attributes. When the tribal woman Sabhri was waiting in the forest for Rama because she was promised that someday he would come, and when Rama came, she, being a simple tribal woman, was shy because she felt herself inadequate to be in the presence of the divine, no matter how much of love and bhakti was coursing through her. And Rama explained to her about the 9 types of devotion. And so, understanding her condition, her hesitancy. He says that I am not known through yajna or tapasya or yoga, but I can only be accessed through devotion, through bhakti. And in the 9 types of bhakti that Rama explains to Shabari, there is Sharavana, hearing about great souls, enlightened souls; Kirtana, devotional songs and bhajans; Smarana, constantly thinking, constant remembrance; Padaseva, to serve the divine; Archana, to perform pujas; Vandana, salutations; Dhasya, to consider oneself to be in service of the divine; Sakhya, a friend like Arjuna; Atmanivedana, self-sacrifice like Mahabali. There are 1 lakh shlokas in the Mahabharata, out of which only 700 shlokas are contained in the Gita. Throughout the entire Mahabharata, Vyasa addresses Krishna as Keshava, Vasudeva, Krishna, but only in Bhishma Parva, only in the Bhagavad Gita does Vyasa address Krishna as Bhagavan, because it is only here that Krishna reveals his true cosmic self. Shloka 7. These, Arjuna, I speedily deliver from the ocean of birth and death, their mind being fixed on me. In heartfulness meditation, how the master carries the abhyasi to the higher regions, so too does Krishna carry the devotees to deliver them to the higher regions. So bhakti is a mystery that is revealed to that seeker when he enters the inner sanctum of his heart after stilling his mind. For jnanis and yogis, bhakti is a means to get them to the manifested divinity, but the higher reality of unmanifest can only be got through knowledge and bhakti, where egos and samskaras are dissolved and only consciousness remains. And to go even beyond that, bhakti is the path. It's not a mental or a physical exercise, but the condition of the soul that chooses to express itself. Shloka 8. Therefore fix your mind on me and establish your intellect in me alone. Thereafter you will abide solely in me. There is no doubt about it. Harness the thoughts that are constantly running around in your mind. Intellect, subdue that, harness it, bring it to its rightful position. Hiranyakashipu, it is said, gave a wonderful talk to his mother and sister when Hiranyaksha, his brother, died in the hands of Varaha, and yet he maintained his hatred towards God. Duryodhana told Krishna, I know what is right, but I am unable to do it. I know what is wrong, but I am unable to stop myself from doing it. Therefore, fix your mind on the divine and establish your intellect in the divine alone. Shloka 9. If you cannot steadily fix the mind on me, Arjuna, then seek to attain me through the yoga of repeated practice. Such beauty is there in this path. The divine doesn't stop us by just giving us one path and saying, okay, if you cannot walk down this path, then the doors are shut for you. He says, fix your mind on me, establish your intellect in me. If you find yourself unable to do that, in Shloka 9, he gives you another option by saying, the yoga of repeated practice. Practice makes perfect. Just talking of a feast doesn't satisfy one's hunger until one eats the food. Mere discussion of the knowledge of the divine without devotion is like pounding husk without corn. And therefore, constant practice, constant remembrance brings us to the doorstep of the divine. Shloka 10. If you are unequal even to the pursuit of such practice, be intent to work for me. You shall attain perfection in the shape of my realization, even by performing actions for my sake. So once again, Krishna offers another option. If constant practice is not your cup of tea, then offer your labor, the fruits of your labor, to the divine. Karmanyevadhikarasya ma phaleshu kadachanaha. Shloka 11. If taking recourse to the yoga of my realization, you are unable even to do this, then subduing your mind and intellect, relinquish the fruit of all actions. So once again Krishna says, if you find you are getting caught up in the moment of action, in the heat of action, it's okay. At least release the fruits to me. The results of your actions, offer it up to me, so you don't have to suffer in bondage of your samskaras. Shloka 12. Knowledge is better than practice. Meditation on God is superior to knowledge. Renunciation of the fruit of actions is even superior to meditation, for peace immediately follows from renunciation. So therefore here Krishna talks about how to renounce our actions, to renounce the results of our actions is so much better than meditation. Chitta vritti nirodha, Patanjali said. Friendship to ones who are happy, empathy to the unhappy, sad ones, happiness to the great souls, and ignore the wrongdoers. While knowledge is superior, meditation on God is even better, and far, far better than everything is to renounce all fruits of actions. Shloka 13 and 14. He who is free from malice towards all beings, friendly and compassionate, rid of I and mine, balanced in joy and sorrow, forgiving by nature, ever contented and mentally united with me, nay, who has subdued his mind, senses and body, has a firm resolve, and has surrendered his mind and reason to me, that devotee of mine is dear to me. So now, from this shloka onwards, we will look at the checklist of items that Krishna says is required, is a necessity, is all part of character building activity. Yeah? An interesting factoid here is that the first word of Shloka 14 is Santushtaha. Santushtaha Satatam Yogi. Now, in the Mahabharata, the Pandavas, when they were in exile and they were thirsty, they saw this beautiful, crystal clear lake of water. And as they approached it, a yaksha stopped them and said, "You will get access to the water only if you answer my questions." The four brothers were unable to answer satisfactorily, and so they died. And then finally Yudhishthir steps up to the plate, and then the yaksha asks him, "Who is a Daridra? Out of the 100 questions, this is one of them. Who is Daridra?" And Yudhishthir answers, "One who is never satisfied, is always poor. Even a little help he values with great esteem. He is overflowing with gratitude towards one and all." The attitude is so very much important. There is this story about Narada once traveling from Bhuloka to Vaikuntha. He comes across two sages in meditation, and both of them request him to ask Mahavishnu in Vaikuntha, when will they get liberated from this mortal life? So Narada agrees to their requests. He asks Vishnu and comes back with a reply. He goes to one stage and says, "You will attain liberation in 5 lifetimes." And on hearing that, the sage is immediately dejected, and he's like, 5 more lifetimes I have to suffer in this world. Narada bows and goes to another sage and says, "You will get liberated in as many lifetimes as there are leaves in this tree." And on hearing that, the sage jumps with joy and dances. Narada is taken aback. By just saying 5 lifetimes, one sage reacts with depression and agitation, whereas another sage is jumping around with joy. And that sage explains to Narada that only so many lifetimes, at least now I know. And in that moment in time, he gets liberated. So, attitude. Shloka 15. He who is not a source of annoyance to his fellow creatures, and who in his turn does not feel vexed with fellow creatures, and who is free from delight and envy, perturbation and fear, is dear to me. So basically, Krishna is saying, be gentle and do not agitate the world around you. Do not agitate your ecosystem. Be cultured with exquisite manners. And in turn, do not let the world agitate you. My father once said that in the halls of Oxford University, there is a saying that says, "A gentleman is one who does not upset others." My father always felt that there was something wrong with that saying, something not quite right. But he never could point his finger on it until much, much later. And in the autumn of his life, when he finally realized it, he told me that after his study of the Vedas and our Shastras, the answer came to him, and he said, "A gentleman is one who does not upset others, and he also ensures that others do not upset him." While the one is foolishness, the other speaks of a rare intelligence. Shloka 16. He who wants nothing, who is both internally and externally pure, is clever and impartial, and has risen above all distractions, and who renounces the feeling of doership in all undertakings, that devotee of mine is dear to me. To be internally and externally pure. Be on the outside what we are on the inside. We cannot say that I didn't slap him, but the thought of slapping, the thought of some violence was there in our minds. Even if the thought is there, it is an impurity. It might not have bled into action, but it still remains impure because of the thought. When there is steadfast devotion in one's heart, that relationship transcends to the state of godliness. Garga Maharishi once told Narada, the celestial sage, about how Krishna allowed his mother Yashoda to tie him up in ropes to the grinding stone while he howled and cried like a baby. Krishna allowed his friends to climb all over him in play. He even allowed the gopis to scold him for neglecting them. And Krishna once confessed to Garga Maharishi and said, "Their reproaches fascinate me more than all the shlokas in the Vedas, because it overflows with love." Shloka 17. He who neither rejoices nor hates nor grieves nor desires, and who renounces both good and evil actions, and is full of devotion, is dear to me. And the one takeaway from us in this is moderation. Shloka 18. He who is alike to friend and foe, as well as to honor and ignominy, who remains balanced in heat and cold, pleasure and pain, and other contrary experiences, and is free from attachment. Once again, what we need to understand from this is a balanced equanimity of mind. Shloka 19. He who takes praise and reproach alike, and is given to contemplation, and contented with any means of subsistence whatsoever, entertaining no sense of ownership and attachment in respect of his dwelling place, and full of devotion to me, that man of stable mind is dear to me. Aniketa Hastir Matir. Vivekananda, in his speech at the Parliament of Religions, said, "The West showed the world how much we need to live. India shows the world with how little we need to live." No attachments at all, either to material goods or to relationships, but discharge responsibilities with honor and grace and dignity. Shloka 20. Those devotees, however, who partake in a disinterested way of this nectar of pious wisdom set forth above, endowed with faith and solely devoted to me, they are extremely dear to me. This nectar of pious wisdom, partake of it only to attain the divine. It is this nectar of unalloyed devotion, of bhakti, the nectar of love, which even the gods, the devas, and the asuras fought to attain in Samudra Mantham in the Kurma avatar of Vishnu. Once it is said that Hanuman saw Sita applying kumkum on her forehead, and he asked her why. Sita didn't know how to explain, so she said simply that Rama likes it to be applied mixed with ghee. And therefore Hanuman immediately bathed himself in ghee and covered himself with vermilion kumkum. And that is the reason why even today, if you look at the statues of Hanuman, it's always covered in vermilion. Om Tatsadita Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayan Yoga Shastre Shri Krishnarjuna Samvade Bhakti Yogo Nama Dvadashodhyayaha. Thus in the Upanishad sung by the Lord, the science of Brahma, the scripture of yoga, the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna ends the 12th chapter titled The Yoga of Devotion.